Panasonic may be pulling their head out of their sand, moving from DFD over to phase detection autofocus. Hey everybody, welcome back to the vlog. Thank you so much for once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of fireside. Fireside is so good. You got that smokiness of the lapsang tea. So good, guys. So good. I hope you're hanging out with me with your cup of tea, or maybe some coffee, or as I always say, something a little bit harder. Depends on what part of the planet you're on. So today we're going to be talking about Panasonic. You know, I don't really have a love for Panasonic. I use Panasonic on a regular basis because for the episodic TV programming and whatnot that I shoot, we use EVA 1s and other Panasonic video cameras, but autofocus is always abysmal. It's just the way it has always been. So we don't even use Panasonic lenses on any of the EVA 1s. We use Canon glass adapted to it, and we pull our own focus. In today's video, we're going to be going over some new rumors that just came out for the GH6, as well as the possibility of moving from DFD over to phase detection. So we'll see about it. We're going to dive in a little bit deeper into it, especially looking at these specs, because the specs look really good. There's also a couple of firmware updates that look really nice also. But before I get into it, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded my ebook as of yet, it's free. Why the hell not? Go take a look at it over at JCristina.com/ebook 10 tips at making tack sharp images. I wrote this a couple of years ago. It is fantastic. It doesn't matter if you are a professional, a pro-am, or even an amateur. You're going to glean something from it. And like I said, it's free. Go pick it up. JCristina.com/ebook. Also, if you have not cleaned your sensors as of yet, doesn't matter if it's mirrorless or DSLR, clean those sensors. Don't go in post-production and take out all that grime and nonsense in your skies. It's stupid. Don't do it. It's simple. It's easy. I put together a kit called Aurora Camera Care. They come with wet as well as dry swabs. You go over the sensor with the wet, then you go over it with the dry, and that's it. All done. It takes a couple of minutes and your sensor is perfectly clean. You can't beat that. And it's the exact amount of wetness every single time. So you're not guessing what is the safe amount of liquid and all this stuff. They're pre-moistened. Anyways, go check them out. You can find them over on my website, JCristina.com. You can find them on B&H Photo and Video, Amazon, Amazon Prime, hundreds of mom and pops all over the world. Once again, Aurora Camera Care. So, guys, let's jump into this. I think this is fascinating because I've always had like a love-hate relationship with Panasonic. Panasonic is an awesome, absolutely hands down an awesome video device. Even when it comes to their Micro Four Thirds, their GH line, GH4, GH5, GH5S, GH6 now coming, really good when it comes to video. Period. A lot of colleagues of mine would shoot with a GH5, GH5S when it comes to short 15-second, 30-second, 1-minute ad spots for TV. And it does a really good job. The problem is autofocus has always been abysmal. Of course, you always have the issue where it's a small sensor and then light becomes an issue here and there, and they ended up transitioning into the S series, which is now Panasonic's full frame mirrorless, and some of them moved over into Canon C series. But now we see that the GH6 is just about ready to be announced, and there's new rumored specs out there, and the specs look great. So let's look at these really quick. Number one, it's going to have a brand new Micro Four Thirds sensor in there. Now this is important when it comes to possibly moving away from DFD. I'll tell you what that is in just a second. Next, it's going to have an updated Venus engine in there, a new image processor, which is good, and it's going to be needed, most likely. Also, it will be able to shoot 5.7K 60p video at 10-bit. That is really, really sweet. Also, it'll do DCI 4K 10-bit, but 422. That is an unlimited recording 422. That is awesome. When you want a color grade, you want 422. You don't want 420 where you're binning a lot of the color pixels out of there, right? So 422 is what we always want when it comes to color grading. Obviously 444 is the best, but 422 we can get away with. Now, it will also do UHD 4K at 120p. That is 10-bit HFR. That is really, really nice because now we get slow motion in 4K. Now, remember, this is a smaller image sensor. It's a micro four thirds. So I would imagine they would be able to do 120p without a problem. Most likely, they'll probably be able to throw in 240p if you use, let's say, 1080p, all right, full HD. So we'll see if that is the case. Now, the price on this unit is said to be about $2,500. So is it expensive? Is it not? We'll get into that towards the end of this video. But for now, what is this movement, as they're rumoring, that will be coming from Panasonic? This movement from DFD over to phase detect. Now, what is this DFD? DFD basically stands for depth from defocus. It's trying to understand what is in focus by what is not, right? Or contrast detect, a fancy name of saying it uses contrast detect autofocus. Now, autofocus using contrast detect is okay in certain situations. If you're just shooting stills or something, it's okay. But when you're dealing with continuous tracking, it's very difficult to get just right. And it's never right. Ask any Panasonic shooter, they'll tell you that AF is not great. That is video shooters. Now, most camera manufacturers out there have went to like a dual pixel like Canon AF, where you're combining both phase detection as well as contrast detection to get the best of both worlds. And that's why their autofocusing systems are so much better than Panasonic. Panasonic has had their head in the sand for so long, I can see how it's difficult for them to pull it out. And I think that's what's going on. They have stumped and they've sang the praises of contrast detect for so long that I would imagine it's probably hard to say, you know what, we're wrong. Well, of course you're damn wrong. Phase detection is where it's at, and we need to move to that. So are they doing it? Supposedly they are. But if they do, I think Panasonic could really leap over other companies when it comes to video, because their video setup in these cameras are amazing. They give you everything that you need as a videographer. All right, so they can really, really change things up immediately in the market. And people will go and start looking at Panasonic, especially their S-line full frame. A lot of colleagues of mine will immediately purchase any Panasonic device that has dual pixel in it, has both phase detection as well as contrast detection. So do they do it? I really don't know. It is rumored, so will it happen? I don't know. But we do see that it's going to have that brand new sensor in there, brand new Venus engine. Chances are that could mean that it will have phase detection and contrast detection in there. Now, when we deal with phase detection in comparison to contrast detection, as Panasonic will tell you all day long, there are always sacrifices that have to be made. There is no free lunch. To use phase detection, you are using some of the pixels on the sensor. So if you have a 20 megapixel sensor, you're going to lose a couple of megapixels for using those pixels for phase detection. But it is worth it, guys, no matter how you look at it. Hands down, it is worth it, because now you have continuous autofocus that simply tracks, simply works, that locks on and stays locked on, instead of doing this pulsating thing and all of a sudden looking in the back and then the front. You don't see this camera doing it. Why? This is a little Sony ZV-1. Over here, we have a Canon 80D. None of them lose me. They don't all of a sudden focus in the back, focus on the front, focus everywhere. They don't do it. They lock into my eyes, they stay locked in, locked into my face, stay locked in. Panasonic has never been like that. It has always been abysmal when it comes to autofocus. This might change everything, guys. This might change everything. I've been preaching this for so long, years. And every time I say something negative about Panasonic, it always ends up coming back down to autofocus. Yeah, there's other things. I'm not a fan of micro four thirds, but there's a place for it. And I understand that there's a place for it, and some people like it. So that gets into the firmware update. Panasonic has announced a plugin that allows true-to-life HDR stills to be edited in Adobe Photoshop. That is really big for a lot of still photographers that want to be able to edit HDR and do it easily inside of Adobe, inside of Photoshop. Well, now they will be able to do that. Also, the new firmware update, now this is only for the S line, S1, S1R, S5, S1H. These cameras will be given the ability to output straight raw video over HDMI. That is fantastic. That is great. So knowing all of this information, I have a couple of questions for you. Now, are you a Panasonic shooter or are you not? So your answers might be a little bit different. But if Panasonic does move to phase detection AF and drops that DFD nonsense that they've been pushing for ages, will this or could this squash the rest of the competition when it comes to the video space? That means full frame as well as micro four thirds. It doesn't matter, right? Will it? I think it could. I want to know your thoughts. Also, in 2021, is there a place for a micro four thirds camera that costs $2,500 as this one will? When we see many full frame cameras, full frame mirrorless cameras at the same price and even half that price, is there a place for such an expensive micro four thirds, smaller sensor camera on the market? Also, what do you think about this whole phase detection AF? If you are a Panasonic shooter, or even if you're not, if they do put phase detection AF into the GH6, would you be a buyer? Conversely, if they don't and they continue down the road of contrast detect or DFD, would you not be a buyer due to that? I would love to know your thoughts on that, because I do think that this would be a major directional shift when it comes to Panasonic. If they decided to go away from DFD and pull in phase detection, or even dual pixel where you have phase detection as well as contrast detection, this would be major, very, very big. I mean, this would be the biggest story of 2021 when it comes to Panasonic, hands down. This would be the difference of people moving away from Panasonic because they're sick and disgusted of their horrible, horrendous AF, and a lot of new blood being pulled into Panasonic through the GH6, the lower end line, and then finally upgrading maybe into an S line, a more expensive full frame version that will also eventually have that phase detection AF built into it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Anyways, if you found any of this interesting or possibly entertaining, throw this video a thumbs up. That would be helpful so the YouTube gods shine nicely upon this video, and recommend it to other folks like you and I. Also, if you like this channel even in the least, please subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and click the little bell icon over here so when I go live or when a new video comes out, you will be notified of it immediately. Also, if you want to contribute to the channel, there's now 2 ways. Number 1, you can click the little join button right down here. You become a member, I give you perks. You can give the channel $1 or $2 a month, or a lot of people have asked me for a tip jar. So I put that together because they don't want to give their money to YouTube and share it. Let's say they just want to give it to me. So if you want to buy me a cup of coffee, or for me, a cup of tea, you can do that by using my tip jar, jctipjar@gmail. Once again, jctipjar@gmail. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That would be fabulous. And when we're done talking, down here below in the comment area, head over to community.jcristina.com. It's our creative Discord server. It's free. Go join, once again, community.jcristina.com. And for getting to the end of this video, use promo code YT20 at checkout. Once again, YT20 at checkout. You'll get 20% off everything over at jcristina.com. That's it, guys. I'm out of here for yet another vlog. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe and stay healthy.